Hello, and it's Thursday. Welcome. As usual, well, not as usual, but every 2 weeks, Lynne and I come on here to help you with your English. So welcome to a Lynne and Craig's English live stream. We're here to help you improve your English, widen your vocabulary, and help you with every aspect of your English. And hello and welcome. Hopefully people will be joining us soon. But while we're waiting, we will introduce yourself just in case it's the first time you're seeing us and watching. So, Lynne, do you want to go first today?
Okay, so if you haven't joined us before, my name's Lynne. My little organization is called Put It Like This, and putitlikethis.com is my website, and I'm basically an online teacher, and I specialize in tailor making courses for people. My overriding objective is to help you find your own voice in English, not a standard voice, but to help you to feel that you're yourself when you're in English, speaking in English, in the same way as the same personality, the same kind of expression as you are in Spanish, although it's always a little bit different. But basically, I want you to be able to say the kind of things that you want to say in English, not the things necessarily that a textbook wants you to say. So if you have objectives, specific objectives in English, then get in touch, and then I'll try to make a course to help you find the vocabulary and the language that you need to fulfill that objective.
And my name's Craig from EnglishCraig.com. I do something very similar to Lynne, but I tend to work with groups for conversation. So if you're interested in improving your spoken English and you'd like to become a more effective speaker, go to the website EnglishCraig.com. I have courses starting on Sunday and also on Monday next week. So you're just in time, if you're watching this now, to join my courses next week. I'm happy to jump on a Zoom call with you to give you more information and find out more or less where your level is. So go to EnglishCraig.com for more information. And I also do a podcast with a friend of mine, Reza, and you can listen to that podcast at inglespodcast.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
And it's very good.
Thank you, Lynne.
Your English podcast.com is great.
Well, we've been doing the podcast for over 10 years. So if we're not good now, then I don't know when we're ever going to be good. We've definitely had enough practice.
You're vintage podcasters now, you and Reza.
Back in the day when the podcast. If you're a Spanish speaker, go over to mansioningles.com where you'll find lots of material to help you with your English, lots of support in Spanish, because I live in Spain and so does Lynne. But we're not talking about Spain today, are we? What's the topic today?
No, the topic today is superstitions around the world.
Yes, it is.
Superstitions. But before we start, we should say hello. And I can just see at the moment that Hema's joined us.
Hi, Hema.
Hi, Hema. How are you? I hope you've had a nice Easter. And
are you superstitious, Hema?
Yeah, are you superstitious, Hema? That's an interesting one. We know Hema because she's been joining us. She's one of our old faithfuls, aren't you, Hema? You often join our live streams. So we're going to play a game here now. Craig, do you think that Hema is superstitious or not? I think we should predict first before she tells us.
I
suspect yes, because I think Hema is quite like me, I think.
So I think she might be a little bit superstitious with some things, yes. Maybe not with all of the superstitions that we're going to mention today, because we have got quite a long list of things that bring you bad luck and things that bring you good luck. But I think Hema does have some things that she does to avoid bad luck, let's say.
Yeah. And I suspect, Craig, that you're not superstitious at all.
You're right. I'm not. Yeah. I don't believe in superstition, although I must admit I do things as a habit because I think it helps things go better.
Okay.
Let me explain. So if I get very nervous if I go to a conference and I have to speak in front of people, give a talk. I get very, very nervous. So I always go to the toilet to the men's room before, and I jump up and down in front of the mirror and I clap my hands and I go through this routine to get the adrenaline going, and that helps to cut. And then I do deep breathing exercises. So it's not exactly superstition, but if I don't
it's a
do
routine.
if I don't do it, I know the presentation is going to go badly. I know it's going to be a disaster.
Well, that
So
is a
I
superstition,
always
isn't it, a
have
little
to
bit?
do it. So isn't that kind of a superstition?
It is kind of a superstition. I think that's what maybe I'm superstitious in a different way to that. Um, but that is a little bit superstitious. I think I have a lot of superstitions that I learned in my childhood, just through, like, from my mother. My mother was she was more superstitious than me. And I don't consider myself superstitious in that, like, I'm frightened if I don't do something, that something bad will happen. I'm not like that at all. But I think I'm a bit of an optimist. We've talked about this before. I'm very much a cockeyed optimist.
A cockeyed
A
optimist.
cockeyed optimist, which means that I'm always looking for good things to happen. Yeah. And so if I see some superstitions for good luck, things that bring you good luck, then I'm always looking for them. Like, I've got a weather eye out for them, to find them. But just because I'm trying to convince myself that good things are always going to happen. I don't look for bad things, though. And I certainly don't get worried if I see something that I know that is traditionally supposed to be bad luck. That doesn't really worry me. But Him has just surprised us, because she said
She
no.
has,
So I was wrong. She says no. She
We were
doesn't
both
consider
wrong.
yourself a superstitious person in general at all. So we were both wrong about you, Hema. Sorry.
If you are joining us live, please say hi. Let us know that you're here with us in the chat room. I know some people are watching who haven't said hello. You haven't said hello yet. So please make sure you let us know where you're from. And we'll get started with asking you about any traditions you know that bring bad luck. So we've divided our superstitions into good luck and bad luck. And what we'd like to know first from you is, what superstitions can you think of that bring bad luck? Now, we think it might be different in different countries. That's why we're interested to get your opinions. I know some of them differ. They change from country to country. So let us know, write them in the chat. Any superstitions that bring bad luck?
Him has also mentioned one. I don't know. She hasn't said, though, whether it brings bad or good luck. Maybe you can put it up. She said, my brother had to touch the corners when he was little. So I'm not sure exactly which corners you mean, Hima. You've corrected the word little. That was just a typo there, obviously.
The corners of the rooms?
Is
or
it the corners of the room? So
of
every
the
room he comes in, he
pages?
has to touch them, or the corners of, I don't know, what corners?
The paper, maybe?
Because
A
I've
book?
never heard that. Have you heard of that
No,
superstition?
no, I
Right,
haven't.
no?
No, I don't know where that comes from.
Uh-huh.
No.
So maybe it's to try to, I don't know, to claim your space. Maybe it's a little bit territorial. If it is the corners of a room, maybe it's like confirming that you're in there and there's no monsters in the corner or something like that. I don't know. Hey, Ma, explain to us.
Give us more information. We're curious.
Tell us in the meantime, Craig, about a typical English one that brings bad luck that you know.
A typical English one that brings bad luck. Let's have a look. Well, it's one thing my mum used to be very insistent about, and we often get these suspicions passed on through the family, I think. And my mum always used to say to me, Craig, don't open an umbrella in the house.
My mother too. She used to get
Did she?
really cross, because sometimes you would be coming in after a rainy day and, like, you kind of shake the umbrella, don't you? And then I usually take the umbrella to the bathroom and dry it. We used to dry the umbrella in the bath. And I have a habit here in my house of opening the umbrella because it dries faster.
Exactly.
But my mother used to get very cross.
Yeah,
about
mine
that.
too.
She wanted them open outside, but on the step.
And I've
Yeah,
been
you
reading a
get
little
bad
about
luck.
the origin of these superstitions, and one or possible origin story from the umbrella thing here is from Victorian times
Oh,
when umbrellas had very stiff metal spokes. The spokes are the thin
ah,
metal things that hold the material, like the
yeah.
spokes of a wheel of a bicycle. So
Hmm.
they were very dangerous. And if you open one indoors, you could cause accidents. You could take out somebody's eye, for example.
Yeah,
So
okay. Oh, well, that
you
makes
know,
sense. That's
it-
just like
a
it's
safety,
like a
health and
safety,
safety. Yeah.
health and safety, and then it's just like being traditionally gone on. Yeah,
Another
it's
explanation
interesting.
is that it could be from ancient Egypt,
Oh,
where umbrellas symbolize the sun god's protection. So not opening one
oh,
indoors was an offense. Sorry,
oh,
opening one inside a building was an offense.
because there was no sunshine inside the house.
Yes, because it symbolized the sun
Oh,
god's protection. So that's all the way from Egypt.
mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. I have no idea, but that's definitely one that my mother instilled in us when we were little. The verb instill, INSTILL, to instill means to teach you, isn't it? It's like to teach you, but very firmly.
Yes, to
Make you
give you a
remember,
belief, give
to
you a
give you a
belief about
belief,
something.
to transmit a belief that you will repeat. When you instill something, you know that somebody knows it really well and they're able to repeat it to you. Hmm.
Gemma said that her grandmother said the same thing about umbrellas. Yeah, it seems
Yeah.
to be quite a common one. That yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And Hima also said that her brother, she still hasn't really said though, he touched the corners from the house or from the street. He just needed to do it. Well, was that maybe just like a little habit that he had personally? It wasn't really, so it was his own personal kind of superstition. Or was it one that is a common superstition in Spain? Hima's from Spain, isn't she? So
Yeah.
maybe you can tell us that. Mhm.
Maybe it's in a similar way that people don't like to step on the cracks, the lines in the pavement when they're walking
Yeah,
along the street. They like to
that's true.
avoid the
Uh-huh.
cracks, yeah, the
Yes.
lines.
And when we were children, actually, people used to say you would get bad luck if you stepped on the cracks. So you were trying not to step on those joins between the stones. But that's very common for kids, just because I think it's, I've never seen an adult doing that. But for children, it was very common. It was just like a little game, wasn't it, really? Uh-huh.
Yeah. Another thing my mum used to say, I don't know if it's the same in your house and in Gemma's house, was putting keys on the table was bad luck.
Now, I've never heard that.
Oh,
I've
okay.
never ever heard that one. And
Don't
why
put the
is that
keys on the.
bad luck? Uh-huh.
I don't have an explanation for that. Maybe that was just my mum.
Maybe it was just your mum that didn't like the keys on the
But
table.
she said, take
Uh-huh.
those keys off the table. It's bad luck.
And so where
So
did she keep it? Where did you keep your keys?
we had the little hooks next to the door. We used to hook the
Ah,
key rings, and so
on
we always knew where they were. But
the
I don't
key.
know if anyone can tell us where that comes from.
Don't put
That
the
would be
keys on the
interesting. So yeah,
table.
don't put the keys on the table. She used to say.
Ah. Maybe it's because if you put the keys on the table, you're kind of offering to strangers at your table. You're offering access to your personal space or something. Like, like you
Could
put
be.
food on the table, don't you? Which is to offer food to other people. So maybe by putting the keys on the table, you're giving away your zone of privacy too easily, maybe. Mhm.
Possibly. I don't know how far my mum looked into it, but maybe that was
Uh-huh.
something that was passed on from her grandmother and she just passed it on to us. So,
I know what the modern version of that nowadays is. Don't write your internet passwords on a piece of
yes.
paper or on a post-it. That would be something similar. Uh-huh.
Vinicius from Brazil has got an interesting one. Apparently, in Brazil, if you put sandals face down, that means bad luck for
For
your
your mother.
mother. That's
Wow.
interesting.
If you put
Put the
sandals
sandals
face
face
down, so
down.
upside down, it's bad luck
Interesting.
for your mother. What a strange thing. And is that very common, Vin?
Vinicius.
Vinicius. Is that very common, or is that like something like Craig's with the keys on the table? I've never heard of that. I'd never ever heard of that. The umbrella, yes, but the keys on the table, no. Is it, how common is that, Vinicius, or is that something like in your house? Is that a one? Uh, Him has given us the key to her brother. She said it was more like a habit. You said, Hima, there, you said a mania. We don't say that in English. You would say like a compulsive habit, you would say in
Yeah.
English, a compulsive habit. And then he used to touch his nose. So he would touch the four corners and then touch his nose. How sweet. Does he
Yeah.
still do it though, Hima, when you're not looking as an adult?
Speaking of shoes and sandals, I don't know if this is true in Brazil, but putting new shoes on the table in some countries brings bad luck. Have you heard of
Wow.
that?
No, I
New
have
shoe.
also never had that, putting new shoes on the table. I mean, generally, I wouldn't put shoes on the table because it's not very hygienic.
But if they're new, then they're not
If they're new, I
soiled or
suppose they could be, but no, I've
you
also
should
never heard of that one.
you
Where
should
did you
have.
get that one from?
Well,
Was that your...
you should know this, Lynn, because
Uh-huh.
according to my research, it's
Yeah.
associated with death and bad luck in the north of England.
Oh,
New shoes were placed on the table when someone died. Doing so was seen as inviting death.
oh, they
That's
put
the
new
origin.
shoes on the table.
I don't know why,
How
but comes
strange.
from the north of England. The north of
The
England,
north of
yeah,
England.
where
Uh-huh.
you're from. I'd never heard of that. That's a new one for me.
Me
Obviously,
neither.
my mum hated it if ever I put shoes on the table. Just like you said, it's dirty.
Yeah, it's just
Shoes are
like
dirty.
dirty. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's interesting that. That is interesting. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Maybe it was from. You do realize. I hope everybody who's listening to us, we really don't know what we're talking about here. So
No, we
you're
don't.
listening to absolute nonsense here. When
But we did do some research. We did do some
we're not
research.
claiming to not provide you with fake news here, but I'm just thinking aloud, and I'm thinking maybe the shoes have something to do with, you know, how in the olden days, which I mean it still happens in some countries, they used to have an open coffin in the house, you know, so that the dead person would be in the coffin. And maybe they used to bring new shoes for the dead body, because traditionally the dead person is always in the best clothes that they own.
That's
I
right.
don't know whether it was tradition to then bring them a pair of new shoes to be buried in.
No, that
But
makes
it's a bit
perfect
odd.
sense. It could
But I
it could
don't
be.
know. It's a
It
bit
could
odd.
be.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But here's one. The next one I've got here is one that is probably familiar to you. You probably know this one, and that's when you break a mirror.
Oh, yes.
Now, I don't know why it's 7 years of bad luck,
Hmm.
but the mirror, I think, is because people thought the mirror reflects your soul. Tu alma in
Ah,
Spanish. So
okay.
if you break it, you're kind of breaking your soul,
Wow.
is
Well,
the
I just
origin.
know that my mother was very, very superstitious about that. And obviously, in our lives, it's a normal thing. You break mirrors. I mean, it happens. You break everything else. And I remember once she was so angry at my dad because my dad did something and broke a mirror. It was my dad who broke the mirror, not her. But she just assumed that the bad luck was coming to her because she was married to my father. So,
So
so
she believed it would be 7 years of bad
she was
luck.
really, really upset about it, and I do remember that she was very upset about it. And I remember that when bad things happened in the years that followed, she always said, "That's because we broke the mirror." Yeah, so
Yeah.
she was very adamant about
Yeah.
that.
So she
I
had the
remember.
perfect excuse for anything that went wrong was
Yeah,
the mirror.
but it's interesting to think about how the superstitions do get passed on to you, because I because she was so scared of
Upset.
that and upset about it. It did make an impression on me as a child, and I tried to avoid breaking mirrors. And I know for a fact that I've passed on that care, take care when you're handling a mirror, to my own children. And
Yeah,
I
it
and I have to
goes
say, I've probably said to them, be very careful, because if you break a mirror, it brings bad
bad
luck.
luck.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of it has a it's a double-edged thing, really, isn't it? Because on the one hand, if you try to threaten, it's almost like a threat, isn't it, to your children, like take a special care with the mirror, don't break it. But obviously I'm not trying to make them superstitious, I'm just trying to make them careful around the mirrors, because they are breakable, they're easily
And
breakable,
dangerous
aren't
as
they? And
well. Yeah.
dangerous too, yeah. So
But it
you never
goes.
know, somebody might have just invented it to try to frighten people,
No, no, no. It goes all the way back to Roman times.
Oh,
It's the
does it? Oh,
Romans
goodness.
who started this, according to what I've read, because the
According to the other fake
Romans.
news you read.
Because I was curious. Now, why is it 7 years? Why 7 years? Why not 10 or 5? Because
Well,
the
everything's in
Romans
cycles of
believed
seven,
in
isn't it?
exactly. The Romans believed in the 7 year cycles of life.
Yes.
The cycles of life. So that's why it's 7 years of bad luck.
Because I remember when I lived in Germany, they used to say, there was a saying in German, which is das verflixte siebte Jahr.
What's that?
And it's like the cursed seventh year. And I remember, like, with relationships, when your relationship with a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a marriage broke down, they used to say, how many years were you together? And if you said 7 years, then
Oh,
everybody
you
would
broke
go,
a
oh,
mirror.
that's it.
You
No,
broke a mirror.
no, they would go, that's it, because it's really difficult to get past the seventh year. And
Yeah.
if you get past the seventh year, apparently you're in it for another 7
Do you
or
know
more.
if you start a podcast, they say that you'll be successful with your podcast if you get past 7 episodes.
Oh, really? You
Yeah.
see, 7? No, I mean, 7 comes in, and
But
many
I think
people
that
think
that's
7's
based on
lucky.
statistics. That's based on actual data. That's not just a
Uh-huh.
superstition. That's based
But
on when people
yeah.
stop. Yeah.
And many people, though, say that 7 is a lucky number, don't they? So yeah, it's interesting with cycles of 7. But I mean, I think it's true that our lives are a little bit cyclical in that sense, because I think we do change a lot through our lives, and yet we have the sensation that we're not changing. So, like, as you're living your life, you don't really think you're changing, but then suddenly, maybe after 7 years, you look back and you think, oh, 7 years, that was quite a long time ago now. Like, you have that sensation that 7 years is like 4 years is not so long ago, but 7 years, oh, that's a long time ago. And then maybe you see yourself from a different perspective, maybe,
Yeah. I think that's true.
and then you kind of think, I don't know, but I think
Yeah.
7 years is a reasonable amount of time for a life change, isn't it?
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Vinicius has also suggested another superstition. If you pass under a stair, and I think here he means a ladder, you'll get bad luck. Be careful with luck and lucky, Vinicius, because luck is the noun and lucky is the adjective. So you can be a lucky person and you have good luck. Good luck, bad luck. You are lucky. He's a
Yes.
lucky person.
And the got you corrected, Vinicius, which is correct. You should say you will get bad luck.
Yes. If you walk under a ladder, you will get bad luck. That
Now
is a
that I
very
know that
common
one.
superstition.
Yeah,
Tell
in
us.
England, definitely. Walking under ladders. My mother was also very, very strict with that with us. I mean, the obvious thing is that it's just not safe, is it? It's not a good idea to walk under a ladder.
Yeah. Yeah. Something might fall on you.
Something might fall on you. Yeah, but it's interesting, because my mother on the street was always very attentive for that as well.
Do you know the origin?
Of walking under a ladder? No.
Well,
You're the oracle
I, I
today,
knew
aren't you?
one. I knew one, but it's not actually what I read. What I read on this website was that it goes back to ancient Egypt. A ladder leaning against a wall made a triangle, a sacred shape, and passing
Oh,
through it, you're breaking the triangle and you anger the gods. Well, I understood that it was breaking the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
did
And
you?
walking under the ladder breaks that Holy Trinity.
Where did you hear that?
I had years ago. I just remembered it.
Really?
I think it was a quiz question. But I just remembered it. But yeah, that's another possible explanation.
Oh, wow. I had no idea. I didn't really know that a triangle was a sacred shape either.
Well, it was sacred to the Egyptians, and obviously it's sacred in Christianity because of
Yeah,
the
yeah, no, I
Trinity.
mean, it's a symbol. It's definitely a triangle is is a yeah a triangle. I mean, it's in lots of our the shape is in lots of things, isn't it? We have it like in the food pyramid. We have lots of shapes of triangles.
The
Strange.
Greeks like triangles in their buildings. They're always a triangle above the pillars. The Corinthian style
Mm,
as well was a
yeah,
yeah.
interesting. Uh-huh.
Hello, Javi. Javi's joined us, and
Hi, Harry.
he has a good one. A black cat. When it passes you by, you may get bad luck. Now that's interesting,
Ah,
Javi.
yeah,
Why is it interesting, Lynn?
yeah. Because there's you've got to figure out in England if the black cat crosses your path, so you're walking towards the cat, and the black cat crosses your path in front of you, then you're going to be very lucky.
You're lucky in
You're
UK.
lucky in England. But if you pass and the black cat crosses your path behind you, then you're unlucky. That is, do you know
Also,
that one? That I know it with
yes.
caveats there. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Also, not only in England, also in the Celtic tradition, so Scotland, Ireland, maybe the north of Spain, I don't know, but yeah, black cats are lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they unlucky in many European countries? I'm guessing in Germany and Italy and other countries, because of witches. Witches had black cats, didn't they? They were connected to
Ah.
witches, and some believed that black cats, were actually witches
Which is in
in
disguise.
disguise.
Ah, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they're
Yeah.
familiars. A familiar is a pet of a witch, like in Harry Potter, where they have the owls and the birds. They have their familiars, the
Uh-huh.
animals that go with them.
Uh-huh.
Where witches had black cats. Yeah.
Ah, okay. But it definitely is. And I remember when I was a young girl and I was more superstitious than I am now. Now I don't really care about the cats, but but I remember when I was young, because I knew that if I saw a black cat ahead of me, I would wait so that the cat would pass, so that I would get good luck. And if I saw a cat acting a little bit strangely, so I passed it, then I'd run so that I didn't see it crossing my path. And I guess if you're really superstitious, you just walk in circles all the time, because if you had a nervous cat that didn't know that
Yeah.
hung around for a long time.
Exactly. But no, it's never bothered me. Obviously,
No.
no. Okay, what other superstitions do we have here?
Well,
Okay,
I asked my daughters, I told you this, didn't I? And I don't know if did you put them on banners or not? I
yep.
learned from my daughters who had some from Italy, apparently. So if anybody from Italy is watching, you can tell me whether my daughters are right or not. But they had some friends who told them that the number 33 is not very nice. And apparently that's from
Is
Naples.
it
And
only a superstition in Naples, do you think?
well, they told me from what they know, but again, this is all hearsay. Can you write hearsay in the chat, Craig? So hearsay means it's not fact. I don't know it for a fact, but it's just what I've heard. Yeah. So they told me from hearsay that it came from Naples. Somebody told them that came from Naples, and that people in Naples don't like the number 33 because that is the age when Jesus died. So apparently when you become 33, you don't shout it about a lot. You just say,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
that age, but you don't go around shouting, I'm 33. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because apparently it brings, and they're all dying to be 34. Oh, there was a pun.
Dying to be 34.
They're dying to be 34.
Yes. In the dead center of Naples. Yeah.
I hope everybody caught those jokes there. But
Hello, Ipesa. Ipesa's with us as well, watching live. And Ipesa says, when you break a mirror, it means bad luck, not lucky. Bad luck for 7 years. Yes, we did speak about that before you joined us, Ipesa, that is a very common superstition for bad luck. But speaking of numbers, 13 is traditionally a bad number for a dinner party. Is that from your daughter as well?
that was also from my daughters in Italy. So they don't like to have 13 people around a table. But in the UK, I mean, it could apply to dinner parties in the UK, because generally in the UK, I think 13 is an unlucky number. People don't
Yes,
like the number 13. And I think this comes from the idea of the Last Supper,
you're right. It does.
isn't it? Because Jesus,
Yes.
it was the 12 disciples and Jesus. And of course, that dinner didn't turn out very well because afterwards he was arrested.
So if you ever have a dinner party, don't ask 12 other people. Don't have 13 people around the table.
Yeah, or uninvite somebody.
But do you know why Friday is traditionally an unlucky day?
Well, Good Friday, I suppose, because that's when Jesus was
Jesus was crucified. Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Jesus' crucifixion. So Friday the 13th is like double
It's
bad
very
luck,
bad.
because you've
Double
got
bad.
the day Jesus was crucified and also the 13 disciples.
I've never heard that Friday was an unlucky day, only in combination with Friday the 13th, I know. And
But
that's a
something,
very
yeah,
interesting thing, because in Spain, isn't it Tuesday the 13th?
I don't
Tell
think.
me,
I don't
Spanish
think so.
people.
Is it Gemma?
I
Is it
think,
unlucky? Tuesday the
is it
13th?
martes el
No,
13? Is that unlucky?
I don't
I've
think.
got
I've
a
never heard
feeling
that.
it's Tuesday the 13th. Uh-huh.
I At the back of my mind, I remember something about witches having their meetings on a Friday. Their coven meetings. Well, that's another reason why Friday might be unlucky. I love Friday. It's the end of the
Yeah, I was going to
working
say,
week.
most
It's
people
one of the
love Fridays.
best day of the week, Friday. But apparently, it's quite
Uh-huh.
unlucky.
And Javi's telling us that apparently for Asian people, 4 is an unlucky number. And it sounds like death in Chinese.
Wow,
So they
interesting.
avoid it. I never knew that,
Me
Javi.
neither. And so that's
Interesting.
very interesting.
But what is super interesting, of course, we're on superstitions, of course, but what is very interesting is that these are very random things, aren't they? Like in Asia, it's 4, in the UK, it's 13, in somewhere else, it's 7
7.
or
And it
whatever. And
changes from country to country.
it changes from country to country. But what is really interesting is how there's this desire amongst humans to attach significance
Yes.
to something. Because there must be something in human nature that is naturally trying to create superstitions. It's very odd. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it
And the
is.
superstitions are kind of random, like 4, 13, and then you have people like us who are trying to explain logically why it's that.
Well,
But
I think yeah, go
maybe
on.
there isn't a logic to it. Go on.
Well, this last one, I think there is a logic to it, because we both know the backstory. The backstory is the history of this superstition, and that's lighting a third cigarette from the same flame. So there are 3 people, and you give one person the light, and then you give the second person the light. Then you shouldn't light a cigarette from the third flame. So do you want to explain why that could be unlucky if you're a soldier?
Yeah, well, that comes from, I mean, what it means is from the same match, or from a lighter, that you keep it pressed to share the flame.
A constant
A
flame, a
constant
constant
flame.
light.
And apparently in the First World War, when the soldiers were in the trenches were the holes in the ground where they would hide, and they just have their rifles on the top of the soil on the ground level. And they were constantly watching the trenches of the enemy. And of course, when one of the soldiers wanted a cigarette, if they saw a flame, then they knew where the trench was,
Where the soldier was.
where the soldier was. On the second the flame moves, that second soldier gives the time to aim his rifle. And then by the time the flame passes to the third person, the enemy, the opposing soldier, has had time to aim, and he's ready, and he fires, and it's the third person who loses their life. They
Yeah.
get shot. So that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, well, that's all the bad superstitions that I have on my list. So before we go to the good luck superstitions, so we have a question. Let's have a general question to see what your opinion is if you're watching us live. And thank you if you are. It's good to have your company. Let's have a look. Yes, as a society, do you think we're becoming more or less superstitious? I mean, some people argue that perhaps we're becoming less religious as a society in the West in general. Very, very sad to see this week the death of Pope Francis. I really liked him. I think he was a very good Pope. Very sad news. But what do you think? Are we becoming more superstitious or less these days?
While everybody's answering, I just want to comment on what you said, though. I think it's a little bit... I'm not sure I quite agree with you with the connection with religion, because you said because people are becoming less religious, maybe they're becoming less superstitious. But I think that's the opposite, because normally religions don't tolerate superstitions. Religions say you have to believe in our religious doctrine, not in some kind of old wives' tales.
But they're both beliefs, aren't they?
Yes, but religions want you to believe in their belief, which is not common superstitions. So, I mean, usually I think you find religious leaders saying, stop being superstitious, like bad luck, good luck. There is no bad luck or good luck. You follow the teachings of my religion, and then you'll be all right. Do you see what I mean? They want you to adhere to the religious doctrine, which is often, it can be contrary to the superstitions. So I would contend that if a modern society becomes less religious, it doesn't have an influence on whether it becomes more or less superstitious. If anything, it might become more superstitious because maybe superstitions fill the vacuum. If people have a necessity to believe in something, then if they're not believing in religion, maybe they end up believing more in superstitions. I don't know.
That's really interesting. I mean, I don't think the superstitions are possibly filling the vacuum of religion. I think what's filling the vacuum of religion is more society falling apart, people being more isolationist, the communities disappearing. And I think the whole social media is playing a part as well. I think it's quite complicated why religion's not as popular as it was 50 years ago. But it's interesting that a lot of these superstitions are from religion, as we've just explained. The Friday the 13th and other things are coming from religion. Making the sign of the cross is kind of a superstition, isn't it?
Are you religious or not? Who is making it?
It
If
depends
you're
if you
not really,
believe. If it depends if
I
you
mean,
believe in it or
I
not.
sometimes think when you see the footballers, the footballers, they score a goal or before the penalty and they do this.
Yes, and they
And
do
then I often
this.
ask myself, are they really Catholic
Or is it
doing
a
or
superstition?
is it just a superstition?
Because sports people are well known for superstitions. You always have to wear the right boots, or you always have
Yeah,
to do something
yeah,
before you go out to compete. They're very superstitious, sports
that's
people.
right. Javi's got a very interesting point, Javi. He says, can you get that one? He says,
Yeah.
I think we are becoming less superstitious because we have access to information at the touch of a not of a
Not a
button.
touch of a bottom. We better explain.
This is the bottom what I'm sitting on, Javi. A button.
Bottom is
B-U.
your bottom is your bum,
Yeah.
the area of your back. Yeah,
Yeah.
your
You need
bottom
to say button.
button. I'll write it in the
Button.
chat.
But anyway, we understand what you mean. It was fun because we have access to the information at the touch of a button, which is a lovely phrase. So we don't leave space for mystery or the unknown like in old times. And I think your second point is really relevant there. It is true because the more, let's say, the more access we have to solid information, the less likely we're going to believe. Things
Well,
that were not corroborated, let's say.
that's true, but what we're seeing at the moment is that facts, and especially like scientists and medical professionals during COVID, were put into doubt. We don't trust the media anymore. We certainly don't trust politicians anymore. So the idea that we have more access to facts, we've got to be careful with that because the internet's full of lies.
True.
And you can't really believe, especially with fake videos and AI coming now, that's going to completely destroy any faith we've got in anything that's really real. The whole thing's. I hate to sound negative.
And then there's me and Craig, who are not AI bots. We are real, and we're also talking a
Promise.
load of rubbish sometimes because we don't know what we're talking about.
That's true.
So
That's
we're
true.
also not talking facts. So yeah, it's not an easy space to be in.
Ipesa's made a nice comment here. If you pass the salt shaker when you need it on the table when you're eating, well, not when you pass it, Ipesa. My understanding is when you spill salt. If you spill the salt on the table, the salt falls out on the table. That is supposed to be bad luck.
Oh, well,
Have you not heard that before?
Yeah, I know if I don't have a relationship with salt on the table. I just know that if you spill salt, you're supposed to get some, throw it over your other shoulder.
Do you know why?
Uh,
It goes in the eye of the devil.
oh, and
The devil is looking over your shoulder. And salt was so valuable years ago because they used to use salt to preserve food before we had refrigerators. So salt was really, really valued. And to spill salt is to waste it, which doesn't make sense. So if you're not supposed to waste it, why would you throw salt over your shoulder? It makes no sense. But anyway, that's what I read.
Yeah, interesting. But that was another thing my mother always did. And I have to say, I am my mother's daughter because I do it too.
Yeah.
It's instinctive. If I spill salt, I get some and I go like that. So these things are like passed on to you from your mothers and your grandmothers and the people around you. Maybe that is changing in today's society because, of course, nowadays we're not really living in these extended families where all the family members are at home. We're not being influenced so much anymore from our grandmothers, our grandfathers, even our parents, because, now with both parents working often outside the home, children don't get the same degree of influence from their parents as they may be used to in the past. I mean, like my mother, she only worked part-time, so she was very much there. And when she worked, she used to work in the evenings and my dad was at home. So the thing was, I was very much surrounded by my mother and my grandmother when I was growing up. not so much my grandmother, but definitely by my mother or my father. And so you pick up those things. But of course, nowadays it's not always the case, and maybe also it's a different kind of relationship, because the parents, if they are working during the week, maybe they're also not really involved in cooking with the kids, watching them preparing the meals, or it's different, isn't it? Life is different
Yeah,
now. Kids are
yeah, it
doing the
is.
homework, the parents are doing the housework, and so it's not quite the same
There's a,
exposure.
there's a lot more distraction as well, and everything's fighting for our attention these days, and we're very distracted. Javi says that his only I would say, a trusted source of information is BBC News. I hope you're not being deceived. Well,
You might be a little bit.
well,
Don't believe it completely.
obviously, we know that news sources, most of them are biased. They're nearly all biased. So they're either leaning to the left or to the right. My suggestion, Javi, is to look at many different news sources to get as much information and viewpoints as possible, and then make up your own mind. You decide what your opinions are. So it's difficult these days to find unbiased news sources. There's one, yes.
Sorry, I don't think there was ever really an unbiased. There can't be an unbiased source of news, and I do think the BBC does try. It makes a big effort to give a balanced view of the news. The issue that I have with the BBC News recently is that I find often they just make mistakes. I don't think the news is being as thoroughly checked as it used to be. All the news sources now are under pressure to bring out the news as quickly as possible. And I've found that often there are things that are not correct in the news, like the facts that are being, like, they make factual mistakes. They make spelling mistakes, definitely.
I've noticed.
And
I've noticed
yeah,
that as well.
and it's not as reliable as it used to be. It used to be far more thorough, I would say.
I agree.
The
I
news,
agree.
thoroughly
But
checked. And I don't think it is now, because of the speed, the pressure to produce news so quickly.
I agree. Journalism's expensive, and one way to judge a news source, as is what I do with the BBC very often, is to look at how balanced their arguments are when they bring people on for interviews. So ask yourself, Javi, if you've been watching BBC News, how many people they've interviewed from the Ukrainian side, and how many people have they interviewed from the Russian side? How many people have they interviewed from the Palestinian side, and how many people have they interviewed from the Israeli side? And I think you'll find that it's not balanced. It's definitely unbalanced. So obviously you're getting an unbalanced opinion of what's happening in the news. Anyway, let's move on. So good luck.
Good luck.
Let's have some ideas for good luck. Where's my question?
This is my
Can you-
speciality, because I'm only superstitious.
Because you're very positive, Lynn. You always have a positive
I only want
outlook.
superstitions if they work in my favour.
Yes, you have a very
And if they
positive
don't,
outlook
then
on
I'm not
life.
superstitious.
I can't find my question. Oh, here it is. So, what traditions or superstitions do you know that bring good luck?
Touching wood is my favourite.
Yes, touching wood or knocking on wood.
Or knocking on wood. And then when I'm speaking, if I'm hopeful about something and I don't want to jinx something, which means to bring bad luck on something, then I say, oh, it will all go well, touch wood. I say that just in the speech. And then I do this, because if there is no wood near me to touch, then you touch in the last resort your head, because you give the impression that your head is wooden and made of wood.
Yeah, my dad used to
You
do
do
that,
that?
and he used to say that all the time. Touch wood.
Yeah,
Touch
and I
wood.
do too.
Do you know where it's from?
No, I have no idea.
It's from pagan times, when
Oh.
trees were believed to have spirits and gods inside the trees. So if you've seen the Viking series, when they go to that pagan festival and they're touching the trees, and then touching wood is a way to ask for protection from the spirits inside the trees.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think I don't know if anybody is watching who is Islamic, but they have a word, isn't it? Inshallah, inshallah, inshallah,
Inshallah,
inshallah.
in God's name. Yeah,
In or does it mean God? May God permit it? I had one of my friends used to say that quite a lot, and I used to think it was kind of like like it was the equivalent of saying touch wood. It was like if God permits it, sort of thing. But I'm not
yeah.
sure. Somebody from if anybody has more knowledge on Islam,
I
maybe
would say more
help us.
God willing. I think it's God
God
willing.
willing is another,
And
but they're very clearly linked to religions and those words, aren't they? But interesting, touch wood is pagan, but isn't it interesting that the human beings need something like that? That they seem to preempt the idea that you can't be too cocky or confident because you're dependent on the grace of a higher being or
yeah,
another thing.
exactly, exactly. If
Because
it's
it's an attempt to sort of remain humble, isn't it? You say, "Oh, and we'll go there, touch wood." It's to stop you kind of boasting about all the things, all the good things that are going to come, and you kind of say, "Touch wood," because you want to say, "Yeah, I don't want to." What do you say? I don't want to
tempt fate.
tempt fate. That's it.
So I suppose it goes back
Fate.
to if you believe that everything is written for you, preordained and planned in your life, if you believe in fate, or if you believe that you are the author or the driver of your own destiny.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Master of
that's
your
maybe for another podcast. Horseshoes,
Uh-huh.
horseshoes, good luck, and they should be hung like a U shape, right, Lynn? Not
That's right, like a
upside
U,
down,
not
like a U
upside down.
shape. Yeah, that's supposed to be good luck.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying
If
to look
if
here to
if
see if I
Asa has
know
got a good
why.
one, if Asa has got one, sorry.
When
Well,
actors say break a leg, break a leg, yeah, in order to
you
have
always
luck in
have good luck.
performance
So you say the opposite of what
of
you
what
want
you
to
want to
happen.
happen. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah. To not. Well, I mean, I suppose that actually, when you say break a leg, that is tempting fate, isn't it? But
that
it's true
is.
that actors say break a leg. Uh-huh. Break a leg. Yeah.
So the horseshoes one, apparently, it comes from an ancient suspicion to ward off evil spirits, to reject or push away evil spirits because of the crescent shape of the horseshoe, which is connected to the moon, the shape of the moon.
Oh, okay.
And the horseshoes are made of iron,
Mm-hmm.
which was thought to repel witches. To repel means to push away or
Oh.
to get rid of, so that
Mm-hmm.
witches don't come close to your house.
Mm-hmm. It's also quite handy because it's heavy. It's a lethal weapon. So if a witch did come, you could hit her with a horseshoe, or you could throw it like a boomerang.
Her and a cat. Oh no, let's not promote hitting cats with horseshoes. That's not a good
No,
idea.
no, no.
Crossing your fingers. We see that a lot on emoticons. On now we're
Yes.
using WhatsApp and we send crossed fingers, hoping for a positive outcome. And this is also from religion, from early Christianity. Two people would cross their fingers to make a sacred symbol, which invoked God's protection or making a
Oh.
wish come true. So it's
Oh, well, the wish
another
come true is still, it's cross your fingers, make a wish, isn't it? Uh-huh.
make a wish.
That's true.
Oh, and another thing, I don't know if you used to do this, but when we had chicken for dinner, roast chicken,
Oh,
There's
you
a
used to pull the
breastbone,
wishbone.
and you pull the wishbone. It's called a wishbone for good luck.
Yes, and
Did
you
you
have
do
to pull
that?
it with, yeah, always with your
And you had
little
to do it with your little
finger,
finger.
pinky,
I used to do
and
that with my
this is
sister.
it's the breastbone, isn't it? In the
Yes,
and it's like in their chest between the breasts, the
but
chicken
we
breast.
called it the wishbone.
And yeah, we did too. And always you pulled it, and then you snap it, and the person who has the biggest bit
Has good
of
luck.
it has the good luck, has won,
Yeah,
and
there.
they
I'd
can make a
forgotten that.
wish. No, we did that every Christmas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the turkey bone.
Javi says apparently in Peru, if you find a horseshoe, money isn't around the next corner.
Oh
Oh,
wow. Are you from Peru, Javi? Is that where you are? Is that where you're based?
that's
I think.
great
Yeah.
if you find a
Yeah.
horseshoe. Yeah. So you go looking for horseshoes.
Thanks for joining, Gemma. Sorry to see you go. We'll be back again in
Yeah.
2 weeks if you want to
Yeah.
join us next time.
Yeah.
But I hope you had a good Easter and thanks for joining.
So
Blowing
can I
out
tell
birthday.
them?
Yes, go
Oh
on.
well, go on. I wanted to give them my one, which was see a penny. Can I do that one? Because I have a nice little phrase in English. If you see a penny on the ground, like a coin, even though it's a very small coin, it might only be a cent or whatever. There is this saying in English that you must pick it up. You must not leave it on the ground. And the phrase goes, see a penny, pick it up. All day long, you'll have good
Have good
luck.
luck.
See a penny, let it lie. All day long, your luck will die. Did you put that
Yep.
on a banner or not?
No, I didn't see that.
What
Sorry,
a
I haven't got it
pity.
on a
Because
banner.
I thought, because it's always great when you learn a language, if you know like a little sort of bit of poetry, you can really impress people. So I thought we could teach you all of that, and then you could learn it, and then at some point in your English lives, if you happen to pass a one on the street, you could show off that you know a little English phrase. Oh,
Okay.
never mind.
Yeah, it wasn't on the document. That's why it didn't
No,
go on a banner.
sorry, I
Sorry.
put it on later. Sorry. Shall I? The thing is, I can't. My chat comments don't go in. Sorry.
Okay. Blowing out birthday candles in one breath. Yeah, we always try to do it in one blow, don't we? That means that your wish will come true.
Depends
That's
how
similar to
depends how old you are and how many
how many
candles.
candles and how much breath you've got.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You haven't got much chance when you're 90, have you?
No. That's originated in ancient Greece and Germany, where
Oh wow.
candles were lit for gods or spirits. Blowing them out with a wish was thought to carry it up to the gods. There you
Oh,
go.
there you go.
Interesting. Next one, seeing a robin, a bird, a kind of a bird, a small bird that's very common in the UK. That's good luck. Or a message from someone who's dead, a deceased loved one.
I didn't know that about a robin. I didn't know that.
Neither did I. And it said that robins were believed to carry the souls of the dead or deliver messages from lost loved ones.
Wow.
Spotting one was often seen as a sign of hope or protection. So robins, good luck. They bring good luck.
Well, Craig, we're nearly out of time. I think you're
I
getting so
know.
carried away with your superstitions. You're not looking at the clock.
I know. Yeah, we'll stop here. Throwing coins into a wishing well or a fountain, very common in Rome,
Yeah.
and many countries, making a wish come
Make a wish
true.
come true. But in a lot of places now, they say, please don't throw coins into the fountain.
Yeah. Use Apple Pay. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, this is a last point I make. But did you know that in Paris they started a few years ago this other superstition of getting a little padlock and padlocking it on the bridge. And it was supposed to represent your love, that it was a sign of your love with your partner, that it wouldn't break. So everybody was going to Paris, and they were with their partners, their lovers, or their girlfriend, boyfriend, wives, husband, whatever, and they would leave the padlock, and it was the idea that their love was locked in the bridge, and
Ah, interesting.
that has been copied in many European cities, because it's in Valencia too. I've seen these locks everywhere,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's driving the local authorities crazy because the bridges get so heavy. They have to come along with proper cutters and cut them all off because it's adding too much weight to the bridges.
Yeah, but
So
I've seen that in many cities. It's a very common
yeah, but
thing to do.
that's an example of how superstitions are not dying and that people are still making new superstitions as
Yeah.
we go.
Hello,
So
Martin. Martin's joining us. Seeing the chimney sweeper in Poland, is that good luck or bad luck,
chimney sweep
Martin?
is a good luck
Is that
symbol
good luck?
in
Yeah.
the UK. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that one, the chimney sweep. And Javi says he sees many coins in the pond. Yeah. And the person who picks it up is very lucky. Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah. Oh, Hemmer's back. Unfortunately, Hemmer, we have to go now because we're out of time.
No,
Martin's confirmed that it is good luck, the
it is
chimney
good luck.
sweep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I guess you don't see many chimney sweeps these days in
You
Poland
don't?
or anywhere. That's a
No.
profession that's died out, I think.
But I've seen them, for example, I remember I got a wedding card with a chimney sweep on the wedding card because it was a symbol of good luck. I've seen the chimney sweep as a symbol. Oh, well,
Oh well. We're out of time. We hope you enjoyed that
but
journey through good and bad
we're
suspicions.
not out of luck, are we?
No, we're
No,
not. We're not.
no.
We're very lucky people. But we have to go, so we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, so we'll say goodbye. So my name is Lynne, just to remind you who I am. My website is putitlikethis.com. If you're interested in English classes to give you a voice in English, of course, in this place, we don't give you much of a voice. You can only join in with the web chat. We've been talking all the time, but it's good for your
Yeah.
listening here on the on the live stream. It's good for listening skills. But if you want to learn more and find your own voice in English, then go to my website, putitlikethis.com. You can find information about the kinds of courses I do, and you can get in touch with me over the website too if you want more information.
Okay, thank you. And my name's Craig from mansioningles.com, where if you're a Spanish speaker, you can get some good support for your English there. If you prefer audio to improve your English, you can listen to our podcast at inglespodcast.com, Spotify, and everywhere where podcasts are heard, including YouTube. And if you want to do a conversation course with me, they are starting soon, as Marcin very well knows, from Monday next week and also Sunday at a different level. I have conversation classes in groups. So if you'd like more information about that to improve your self-confidence when you're speaking, go to the website and book a call with me and I'll give you all of the information. And one final thing before we say goodbye, I do want to mention that tomorrow I'll be speaking at Claire's online summit. And here it is. Now, I know, Lynne, you've participated in her summit in the
very
past.
interesting, the summits, yeah.
Tomorrow's the last day, so you can see all these speakers' presentations if you sign up. It's completely free. There I am. It's completely free, and you will get the recordings. And I'll put the link in the chat if you're interested. This is a professional English summit where you will get lots of different perspectives on how to improve your professional English. And tomorrow I'll be talking about how to give an effective presentation. So no pressure there doing a presentation about how to give a good presentation.
But we know what you'll be doing because you told everybody you'll be in the bathroom beforehand, pumping yourself up and getting your
I
adrenaline
beg
going.
your pardon? Yes, I will. I will be doing that. I'll be quite nervous because nobody wants to give a presentation about giving presentations. So
That's right.
that's tomorrow at 10 o'clock Central European time. And I've just put the link in the chat if anyone watching would like to sign up. And of course, you'll also have access to the other presentations and it's completely free.
And remember that in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back on, because we're doing a series on the 5 senses. weren't we? And we've
Yes.
done the sense of sight. We've done the sense of sound. So it'll be another sense in 2 weeks' time.
But we're not going to tell you which sense because we want you to come and find out. So we're going
Yeah.
to keep you in suspense about the
And it might be
sense.
bad luck, mightn't it? If
It
we were
might be
to,
bad luck. So
it might be bad
don't
luck,
walk
so
under
we
any
won't be doing it.
don't walk under any ladders. Don't break any mirrors. And hopefully we'll
And
see you in 2
touch
weeks'
wood,
time.
we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Knock on wood. We'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye bye. Bye bye.